So Clare 225, Wexford 222 at Semple Stadium in Thurles. It is Clare who progress on to the next round of the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship qualifiers after a 3-point victory over Wexford. And of course, as always, I'm here with my match reaction and my thoughts after the game. A huge victory in the end for Clare. Very disappointing from a Wexford point of view, I'm sure, for many Wexford fans who, probably for the majority of the game, not looking past the opening 10 minutes. Wexford probably the better team in many ways, but obviously because Wexford were just horrendous in the opening 15 minutes, that was the main difference between Clare getting over the line. And look, listen, fair play to Clare. On the looking at the majority of the whole 70 minutes, I mean, Clare certainly deserved the victory, but looking at that opening 10 minutes in particular, like Wexford were just absolutely horrendous, and Clare just really, really punished them from start to finish. I'm not too sure, with Wexford in particular, their tactics, in the first half in particular, were just very strange. Their forward line of the likes of Rory O'Connor, Cathal Dunbar, even Lee Chin, all dropping into the midfield area. They'd no forwards playing in their forward line at all, and Wexford just consistently, hitting long balls up to no one. Unfortunately, Clare were winning them quite easily with the likes of John Conlon. And obviously Davy Fitz and Wexford had a clear game plan coming into this game. We're going to flood the midfield. We're going to flood the central area of the pitch to probably try and take Tony Kelly out of the game. And to be fair, it worked in some instances. Tony Kelly hit 9 points today. Majority of them were from place balls. But in doing so, it freed up spaces for Aaron Shanahan. Aidan McCarthy, for me, was man of the match. He was absolutely outstanding. He was able to get more space as well. And obviously, in doing so for Wexford, what actually happened was they, their own game plan was their own downfall, because it meant that they couldn't get their sharpshooters on the ball, the likes of Lee Chin, for example, and Rory O'Connor. And yeah, it was very poor in the first half from Wexford in the opening 10 minutes. It really, really was. And, it's a fine margin between, it's a thin margin between success and failure in many ways. And I think we've seen that with Wexford against Kilkenny. And in some ways, we've seen in this game as well, where Diarmuid O'Keefe actually had an early chance, ended up hitting the side net, and Clare go down the opposite end, literally within the space of a minute. Cathal Malone puts it in the back of the net. That's a 6-point swing right there. And if Wexford had gotten that goal, maybe they would have kicked on and potentially won the game. But in the end, it was Clare who got the job done, and fair play to them. For Wexford and Davy Fitz, they did turn it around, obviously, at the end of the first half. I think they hit 6 without reply right at the end of the first half, and then 3 points again at the start of the second half. Lee Chin certainly started having more of an influence. I thought Liam McGovern started winning more ball around midfield. And Cathal Dunbar in particular was probably Wexford's best player on the day. Hit 5 points, all of them from play as well. His overall contribution on the day was brilliant, and was certainly, if Wexford had gotten over the line, maybe he would have been the man who would have won man of the match. But for Clare, fair fucks to them, or fair play to them, for getting over the line here. The likes of Ryan Taylor, David Reedy as well, getting on the score sheet when they needed to. In the second half, there was definitely stages where Clare looked a little rattled. They kind of struggled to get over the line in many ways. They definitely did struggle quite a bit, but the likes of Aidan McCarthy just kept chipping away at points. And obviously Rory Hayes won man of the match on Sky. And he had a cracking game as well, obviously, in a cornerback. Fair play to him playing at number 2. So he had a brilliant game there. Really kind of stopping a lot, because a lot of what Wexford were doing then in the second half was they pushed Rory O'Connor further up, Kevin Foley as well, Cathal Dunbar, kind of higher up the pitch. And Rory Hayes, to be fair to him, done a brilliant job on Kevin Foley, I think it was. Kept him scoreless on the day, so that very much shows the influence that he had. Fergal Horgan, probably the referee, made 1 or 2, very strange calls in my opinion. There was one stage where Damien Reck was fouled, and I think he gave it as a dive, or gave it the complete opposite way. I thought that was strange. Rory O'Connor had a blatant penalty, in my opinion, when he was hooked by one of the Clare defenders. And the referee didn't even give a free. He gave a throw in. I mean, he just bottled it completely. I don't know what kind of decision is that. It's either a penalty, a free, or just let the play continue. He gives a throw in. It was very strange. It was like he blew the whistle to give something, and then he just completely bottled it and was like, oh, I'll just throw it in, and yeah, you can go at it from there. To be fair, Aaron Shanahan should have had a penalty literally about 5-10 minutes later. He was fouled, I believe it was, by Matt O'Hanlon and Kevin Foley, both fouling him. the referee had allowed advantage to continue from the first foul, but then there was another foul inside the square. Should have been a penalty, you know, like at the end of the day, the advantage was played and then he was fouled, so it was the next phase of play. So should have been a penalty in my opinion. Ref calls it back for a free. So I suppose those two decisions probably balanced each other out in the end, where Wexford should have had a penalty and Clare probably should have had one as well. But yeah, fair play to Clare in the end. They just about done enough in the second half in particular. You know, when the going got tough, they certainly got going in the end. You know, Clare, and fair play to Wexford. Like, they showed a lot of fight there in the closing stages. Leachin obviously getting that goal as well. After Gary Cooney, who came off the bench, you know, got a goal. I think it might have been his first and only touch in the game. And in the end, it was actually, you know, that was the goal that decided the game, quite ironically enough. Mark Rogers as well, coming off the bench. I've been singing his praises on a few different, you know, match reactions and whatnot before. Just a brilliant addition into the team coming off the bench. Certainly a star in the making. Was with the under-20s in the past couple of years, I believe. So he's come into the senior team now. Very top-class hurler, so fair play to him. And yeah, you know, even David McInerney, when he came on at half-time, I thought had a bit of an influence and certainly done a good job as well. And, you know, for Wexford and for Davy Fitz, I mean, where do they go from here? You know, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Davy Fitz will be Wexford manager next year. You know, he's talked multiple occasions before about the potential of leaving. You know, he was going to go to Galway. I remember last year he was saying, you know, if the lads don't want me here, I'll leave. I just don't know if he's going to stick around with Wexford. My opinion, I think this is probably his last game for Wexford. I don't think they'll necessarily, you know, get rid of him, the Wexford board. I think he's earned the right, obviously, by winning a Leinster Championship to stay on. But you know, but maybe he'll decide to step away, because you'd probably feel that, you know, is there anything more he can do now for Wexford? Maybe a fresh face needs to come in, and maybe they need to change the way they play a little bit as well. But it is harsh, because they've, you know, they were brilliant against Kilkenny at different stages. Like, could have easily, if they had won that game, they would have been favourites to beat Dublin later. So it really is just a thin margin. It really is. And as for Clare, like, they go marching on. Clare is definitely a funny one in many ways. Like, they've certainly got a lot of quality there. We've seen them in the first half when they hit, you know, they were 1-9 to 1 point up at one stage, and then they just kind of fell over the line in the end. It was kind of similar in the Waterford game. They seem to have a bit of problem, you know, their accuracy isn't quite there. They're not clinical or ruthless enough, in my opinion. And I think as soon as they come up against a top team in the hurling championship, whether that's a quarterfinal or a semi-final, or even in the next round of the qualifiers, I feel like they will get beat. I feel like another team can put them away, because they allow other counties to stay in the game. Waterford staying in the game as well, for example, and in the Tipperary game as well. They seem to kind of have different phases where they're brilliant. They have brilliant spells for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then they completely disappear and fall away at different stages of the game. But yeah, Dylan Duffy there says there, I've missed you in the chat. Well done to Clare for the win. Yeah, brilliant win there for Clare. Fair play to them. They march on into the next round of the qualifiers. And it'll be interesting to see who they get. I believe Waterford got the better of Laois last time I checked there. But yeah, look, listen, we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. There'll be a match reaction out following the Dublin Kilkenny game later, and of course the Armagh Monaghan game as well. So do stay tuned for that, and I'll see you later.